For 1.4 million people, we are some of the most creative, awesome people on the face of the planet. I have a passion for female entrepreneurship. I wanted to give back to the people in my country, especially female entrepreneurs. The ability to create something out of nothing is a skill that all women have. I am a business strategist. There are way more opportunities for women than ever before, and I wanted to bring my experience and my knowledge to the table. Once we've been able to identify the problems or the challenges that you think you have, as compared to the challenges or the problems that you actually have, we offer customized solutions. I have a team of people who come on board to create synergy. I am not a Trinidadian brand. I'm a global brand that is run by a Trinidadian woman. So everywhere I turn up as a Trinidadian woman first. So this is a half an hour when we're going to be talking about why women are so well positioned for leadership in this season, and most importantly, why women need to get out of their own way and take up that mantle of leadership. So don't trust me. Don't trust what I'm telling you. These are the receipts, and I'll show it in here. Did you know that women are 50%, 50% less likely than men to emphasize leadership in their LinkedIn profile? Now, this came out of a Forbes article that was published in the second week of December 2024. It comes out of a larger document, which is a survey and an article that speaks to why women are doing what they are doing and why they need to stop. So look at your own profile and tell me, what are your leadership descriptors in your profile? And if it is not happening, then you need to ask yourself why. Why is it not happening? So that's the first thing. Because here is what happens to us as women. We have been conditioned to do the right thing, which includes going to the best schools or getting into the best schools, getting the degrees, graduating at the top of our classes, and then, because I've been a trainer for more than 15 years, we are going to decide that our work will speak for us, which is the first thing. And the second thing is that we also decide that those qualifications will take us from entry level all the way to C-suite. And here is the tip that I want to leave with you. If you take nothing away from this half an hour today, take this. That, in fact, it's two things. One, your work is not going to speak for you. So that's just the first thing. The second thing is that the classroom, the university, the training course, the area of higher level learning, whether it's entry level, BSc, MSc, or PhD, they are all controlled environments. And the organizations, the environments, your places of work, your ability to maneuver and navigate those spaces, that's the operational environment. And in a new season of DEI rollbacks, I want you to take those things and put them somewhere and look at them. Don't believe what I'm telling you. Because if we do not create relationships, then we are literally dead in the water. So I'm going to share one thing with you again, because I'm coming with the receipts today. Did you know that women are 28% less likely than men to network? Again, as a lecturer of mine used to say, this is not me speaking. This is the research universe. This is what the research universe is saying. And the research universe is saying that women are not building relationships. Women are isolating themselves. Women are not leaning back and pulling other women forward. Women are not networking. And it is in that networking they will have access to the abilities, the skills, and most importantly, the opportunities that men are so easily accessing. It's not saying that it's easier for men. It is because of that framework, it is a framework where they have no choice but to succeed. Because in the operational environment, it is more who you know and what networks and relationships that you have built than what you know. And as I said, I am not saying it. This is what the research is pointing out. Because here is what we have been conditioned as women to do. We have been conditioned to compete with other women. It's a social conditioning that we have to unlearn if we want to succeed because leadership is there for us. There is no such thing as a woman who does not have the capacity or the ability to lead. But the reason why women are not assuming positions of leadership is because we're talking ourselves out of it. And if you are trying to navigate by yourself and you do not have a network of like minded individuals, then it becomes so much harder. So 60% of women feel hesitant to self promote. And in that hesitancy, they're losing opportunities so suited to their innate abilities, skills, and knowledge. Most women graduate at the top of their classes. It is a given that women excel in academia. But as I said before, what happens is that we move from the controlled training or teaching environment to the operational environment, and then all of a sudden it's a new ball game, and then we tell ourselves again that our work will speak for us. But think about your co-workers, think about your male competition, fellas who are in the same promotional track as you. Don't you hear them talking about themselves and their successes and what they have done? Because men have been conditioned that these are laudable qualities, these are laudable traits. So a man will talk about the goal that he scored. A man will talk about the girl that he pulled. A man will talk about the promotion that he got. Men love to talk about their cars. Men love to talk about their brands. Men like to talk about the things that they have done or the things that they are aspiring to do. As women, however, we have been conditioned to not talk so much, stay quiet. As we say in the Caribbean, hold your corner. And it is that hesitancy. Don't talk too much, don't open your mouth too much, don't lift your voice too high so that you will be liked. That is the operative word. So that you will be liked and you will be accepted. So when you hear that key phrase team player, that's because you've been silent. That is because you have been silent. So it makes no sense that you have all these qualifications and you are not letting people know. And I speak here also for women in corporate and female founders and women startup companies, which is the demographic that I represent. That's the demographic that I work with day in, day out. So when you are not blowing your own trumpet and saying, here I am, this is what I have, these are my abilities, my skills, and my knowledge. I am the person who has the key for the transformation that you are looking for. How are they going to find you? Because if you do not accept that nothing changes until you change, and if you do not also accept, and this is an issue that women have, and it's an issue why they cannot get out of their own way, is that some women are afraid of failure. But what they need to understand is that you failing at a task means that the task has not worked out how you thought it would. It does not mean that you have failed. That's a mindset shift that I really wish a lot of women would adopt. A failure does not mean that you have failed. We internalize failure as if it is somehow our fault. We have not done enough. But in the material time, you were working with the knowledge that you had. and that's all that you had. And we cannot always adjust for variables or intervening events. I am a researcher by trade, so I look at things in the quantitative way. And when we have our first failure, then we do not know how to pivot because we spend too much time crying over spilt milk. So there are four hidden struggles that female founders face in owning because, as I said before, women are extremely powerful. I am a very powerful woman. I make no apologies for that. And I'll tell you why. Because I am the person that I am today, the person in this life today talking to you and saying these things is the person who learned, adjusted, and pivoted and became this person. So if I can do it, then anybody could do it. And this is my passion. This is why being a business strategist means so much to me. Because I went back to school at 40. If for 1 second I had believed that I could not do this thing, then I had the comfort level of my job where I was well paid and highly qualified, and I would have been 60 at retirement with unrealized ambitions. You learn. Entrepreneurship teaches you more about yourself than any other profession, any other industry. And especially now when the ground is moving, is shifting on a daily basis. Four hidden struggles that women face in owning their desire to lead. Women are so powerful. And listen, the woman that I was at 18 is not the woman that I became at 30. The woman that I became at 30 is not the woman that I became at 40. By the time I tell people 40 was my epiphany. If I knew 40 was going to be this good, I would have been 40 before. So by the time I turned into my 50th year, I was virtually unstoppable. And I am not afraid of anything anymore because I know that between myself and God, these dreams are entirely possible. So at 40, I went back to school. I had four O levels. We owe it, not only that we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to the people who have struggled and died and dreamed of a future where people that look just like us will sit in spaces that they never could have aspired to. In this season, we are carrying the weight of our ancestors and their aspiration. This is not the time to be hanging back. This is not the time to rest. We're going to rest when the battle is fought and won. Do not let the enemy convince you that the things that you want are too much. No, they're not too much. I was 40 with four levels, and by the time I was 50, I had 3 degrees. By the time I was 55, I started this agency, and I am now completing a doctorate. I was not the girl who was slated to succeed at all. And I made one prayer. I said, do not let me end up where I started. So if I could do it, if I could go from four levels to an associate, a bachelor's, a master's, and finishing a doctorate, then anybody could do it. Anybody could do it. I did it. I worked and went to school. I had zero support. I spoke it into the universe. So I am not just saying these things theoretically. I'm saying it because I've lived it. So let's look at the four hidden struggles. Quick, and I'm taking first one, imposter syndrome. Now you know my thought about imposter syndrome. Some people say that it doesn't exist. Some people say that it does. But if someone says something to you often enough over a period of time, it hardwires into your system. Understand what I am saying. Some people will never have the experience because they come from an environment that was nurturing, but that in black and brown communities, not talking to black and brown people, in black and brown communities, we are dysfunctional. We're dysfunctional. A lot of us grew up without knowing our fathers or even knowing who our fathers were. We grew up in extended families where there was all kind of crazy things taking place. So the narrative that is fed to you from your earliest days as a woman, you start to believe it because it is hardwired into your system. So if somebody tells you that you are black and ugly, and I'm using those words in the very political LinkedIn space, then it is said often enough, you internalize it as truth. If they say to you that you will never succeed and that you are dreaming too high or you want too much, and why don't you just settle down and get a job and get a husband, then after a while you start to believe it. So, having said that, I hope that you follow why I believe that imposter syndrome is a narrative. It's a narrative. It is something that has been said to some of us over a period of time, such that it has been hardwired into our systems. And now we have accepted and internalized that narrative as truth. If imposter syndrome were, if you create a hypothesis out of imposter syndrome, the research will test the hypothesis, but will not prove the hypothesis because it cannot be substantiated. It is a narrative, but it is a narrative that we have accepted. So let me go. Fear of backlash. Remember, I spoke about women having aspirations in organizations and wanting more, and the men are taking up space and telling their stories and sharing their successes and being bold enough to say, I do not have everything, but I am getting into the fight. I am going to pitch for the job. I'm going to pitch for the promotion. We Oftentimes, we are the best candidate, but we are afraid of what people will say. And that goes to leadership because the few of us who decide that leadership is our chosen path, we are also afraid of what people will say about us because you know that B word, and it isn't Beyonce. And that fear of backlash is what keeps us from our truest destiny, which is to show up in the world as our whole damn self. So let me go back to the other one. Remember, I spoke about cultural conditioning. The imposter syndrome conversation comes out of that. I grew up in a house with 5 brothers. I have no sisters. I have trained men for more than 20 years of my life. So you know I have already read that male code. I am going to show up as my whole damn self and I do not care. There's a word that I apply to myself. I can't say it in polite company. Let's say the softer version of it is that I am a fully evolved badass. So that cultural conditioning that tells you that you can't get your clothes dirty, that you have to speak softly, that you have to accommodate, you have to nurture, almost like you have to learn how to cook as being part of the feminine DNA. And if you don't like cooking, something is wrong with you. That cultural conditioning is what is telling women that they will come to the table only with their qualifications. I'll give you a little tip. By the time I went back to university, I was already a seasoned, highly qualified industry professional. I went back to school to put the cherry on top of the ice cream. The ice cream was already there. So I am saying that while having all those qualifications are fine, you need more ammunition than that. As somebody who wore a firearm for over 17 years, I'm a pretty good shot. It's the difference between a shotgun and a pistol. Think about it. I'm leaving it right there. So that cultural conditioning is what is keeping us from our true position, which is boss. Which is boss. And the last one, that lack of mentorship and representation. A lot of my mentors have been men, but that's because I have also been conditioned and cultured among men, and I have been in positions in my former job and in organizations where I was, and I'm not even going to choose the word, hell, where I was the head bitch in charge. I became a leader when leadership positions were offered to me and I grew into them. So nobody is born a leader. There are formalized leadership based on your role, and there's informal leadership, and anybody in an organization will tell you sometimes the informal leader is running the shop more than the person with the position and the prestige. So you can become a leader, but it requires that you make a conscious decision to lead. You know, it's like the old saying, not every argument that you're invited to that you should attend. Leadership is not for everybody. Just like entrepreneurship is not for everybody. But if you are put into a position of leadership, then lead, don't follow. So those, yes, you want to see something. There's a saying that we have to see a thing for it to be a thing, or we have to see a woman in a leadership position to believe that leadership is for everybody. The, the last US elections told the rest of the world that America is not ready for a female president, or may never. I come from an environment where I have seen female prime ministers, female presidents, female attorney generals, female commissioner of police, and I was the head of, in fact, I was one of the first women in my organization in the region to become a certified AFSEC instructor. And that is a very, very big deal for those people who are in the aviation field. So you are not going to, this is not the time for you to hold back or to step back. This is the time for you to get ready so that you could stay ready. You see, what I want at the end of the day, and I'll share this with you. When I was coming up and life was lifing and things was just things, I wished with all my heart that there was a woman who would come to me, hold my hand, and say to me, Rhonda, you see all these things that you're worrying about? These things do not really matter. Focus your mind and keep it focused. Go after the things, and when you're going after the things, more things will come. But there was nobody. There was no woman. So what did I do? I became that woman. And that is why what I do as a business strategist is so important to me. Because I am speaking to women in this season that it is time for all of us to pull up our big girl panties and become the leaders that society is begging. Society is not asking us anymore. Society is begging us to become leaders. And I'm jumping off the soapbox right here. I just want you to think about it. You don't have to agree with me. You do not have, you could very well say, she's just doing the most. But I have worked for 30 years in a global industry, so maybe I know a little something. So if you don't do it now, then when are you going to do it? Time is currency, and it is the only currency once spent cannot be reclaimed. So take these things to heart, and you start to make those necessary changes in your life. Have a great afternoon, and let's keep in touch. Bye.